And good morning again. Senators Leahy and Sessions are with us in the studio this morning, and because she's going to be covering these hearings, and frankly because she knows a lot more about this than I do, our legal correspondent Jan Crawford is at the table as well. Senator Sessions, I want to start with you because from the hour that the president announced that he was going to nominate Elena Kagan to be his nominee to the Supreme Court, you have offered, and your office has been putting out just a steady stream of press releases and comments questioning her qualifications. You have noted that her legal experience is very thin, that she's a political operator. Just almost every day, something new. I want to ask you, are you trying to block this nomination, and how far do you intend to take this? Do you think she's unqualified?
I think this is a very important nomination, and she has the least experience of any nominee, at least in the last 50 years. And so I think that raises questions, and I've been using the phrase, you know, this is a confirmation, not a coronation. Many were suggesting it's just a done deal and the committee hearings would make no difference. But I think this nominee does have serious deficiencies, issues that need to be raised. The American people are concerned about their courts. They're concerned about a growing, expansive government that seems to be beyond anything they've ever seen before, and they'd like to know what their judges might have to do about it. So I think that's kind of where we are, and she's entitled to a full and fair hearing, and I've told Pat and the president she'll get that, and I'm committed to that.
Well, how far are you going to go with this? I mean, could a filibuster, the option of Republicans filibustering this nomination, is that still on the table? Is that still possible?
I think the first thing we need to decide is she committed to the rule of law, even if she may not like the law? Will she, as a judge, subordinate herself to the Constitution and keep her political views at bay? And then secondly, if things come out that indicate she's so far outside the mainstream, it's conceivable a filibuster might occur. The Senate rule that our Democrats led us to establish was that you shouldn't filibuster except in extraordinary circumstances. I think that's a legitimate rule, and that'll be what I would judge as to whether a filibuster is necessary.
At this point, do you think she's unqualified?
I think her nomination has real problems that need to be examined. I believe she's entitled to a fair hearing and a chance to respond, but this nominee has a very thin record legally. Never tried a case, never argued before a jury, only had her first appearance in the appellate courts a year ago. And she just is not the kind of nominee you would normally expect to have. Of course, never been a judge. And so this raises questions because her political instincts have been strong. She's been aggressive in issue after issue from the liberal side of the political issue.
Senator Leahy, I expect I don't even have to ask you a question.
Well, you know, it's funny when we talk about not being a judge. Of course, up until recent years, almost half of the nominees, members of the Supreme Court, had not been judges. Bill Rehnquist, who became Chief Justice, Chief Justice William Rehnquist, was not a judge. He came from the Nixon administration to go on to the Supreme Court. But then some of the greats like Hugo Black and Robert Jackson were not judges. So that should not be a thing. In fact, right now on the Supreme Court, there is only one member who is a trial judge, and that's Sonia Sotomayor. So I'm more interested in seeing what their qualifications are now with Elena Kagan, first woman to become dean of the Harvard Law School, indicates her legal abilities. First woman to become Solicitor General, who's sometimes referred to as the 10th Justice, and she's very good. But I worry, and I told President Obama this, that it's reached a point that if he had nominated Moses the lawgiver, some would have said we can't have him because, among other things, he hasn't produced a birth certificate. I mean, let's look at the person. Let's, in fact, I got a sort of a half-hearted laugh out of the president on that one, but let's look at her qualifications. I mean, we can make all these charges in the vacuum. She's at a point where she can't answer any of these because by tradition, Jan, as you know, they don't say a word to the public or to the press after they've been nominated until the hearing. Starting tomorrow, she'll have a chance to answer these. I think you're going to see a brilliant woman, a brilliant legal mind, and you're going to see somebody who's going to be the 112th Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court.
But Senator Leahy, I mean, Justice Alito, obviously President Bush's nominee, was widely viewed as highly qualified, an intellectual giant. He got the highest rating by the American Bar Association. He had support from liberals, just like Elena Kagan has support from conservatives. Yet you not only voted against Justice Alito, you and the president and the vice president, then in the Senate, thought that she should be filibustered.
No,
so how can you criticize
we had
Republicans for kind of doing the same thing?
We had sort of a test vote on him. Everybody knew that was more symbolic. And
well, 25 Democrats voted not to have.
And then we immediately went, and we still could have held it up for days. We went immediately to a vote on him. So let's get past that. That was symbolic at best. I also voted for John Roberts. John Roberts, very, very conservative, had been in the Reagan-Bush administration, but I felt that he gave us direct and honest answers. I felt that Justice Alito did not, and that is why I voted against him. I voted, keep in mind, I voted for hundreds, even thousands of judges nominated by Republicans, President Reagan, both President Bush's, President Ford, who were not the people I would have nominated had I been president, but I felt after going to the hearing that they were people that I could trust to uphold the law. I didn't feel that way, and I hope that Justice Alito proves me wrong.
But Senator Biden, then Senator Biden, said it was okay to filibuster a nominee he believed based on their ideology, and there was no question Alito wasn't qualified, had support from liberals. Some of the same things now that we're hearing from Senator Sessions.
I didn't feel that either Robert Bork or Justice Thomas were qualified, but I resisted any effort to have a real filibuster on either one of them. I think when you get to a Supreme Court justice, you have a different level, and I think the American people deserve a vote.
But is ideology a reason to filibuster a nominee?
Ideology is one of many considerations. Consistency and honesty is another consideration. In many ways, the consistency and honesty, in my mind, trumps ideology.
Go ahead.
I would just say that the whole critical thing about a nominee, experience is important. Lack of experience is very significant in my view as a practicing lawyer. But when you have the question is, does the judge understand that they can't utilize the power, the lifetime appointment, to redefine the meaning of the Constitution, to have it promote an agenda in an activist way that the American people won't vote for? And when you put somebody on the bench who's prepared to do that, then they are not serving as a judge.
But
they're serving
let me use an example.
Let me ask this on Senator Sessions, though, because it's almost like you're taking opposite positions that you took 10 years ago. In 2003, when the Democrats were filibustering, you told Jim Lehrer it was a very, very grim thing. You said it would weaken the hand of the president in a constitutional alteration of power. Now, you told Bob there had been this compromise between the senators so that would allow a filibuster, but in 2003, you were saying that would undermine the Constitution and democracy to filibuster, weaken the courts. So how has your views changed now on that?
We just have to live with the world we're in, Jan. And what happened was we had a big debate over that. The filibuster was ongoing by the Democrats on quite a number of Bush judges for the first time in history. And the compromise that was reached with a gang of 14 was that you should not filibuster, except in extraordinary circumstances. I've never filibustered a Supreme Court justice. Hope I don't have to. And we didn't on Sotomayor.
Senator Leahy, this nominee herself has said that these hearings have been hollow and a charade in the past.
I know.
Is this going to be hollow and a charade?
I hope not. I think when we did the Sotomayor hearings, and I was chairman and Jeff was ranking member, we got a lot of praise from both Republicans and Democrats for the fact that we made those as thorough as we did, including people who voted against us said they were fair, they were open, they were clear. I intend to hold the same kind of a hearing here. I'm going to make sure every Republican senator and every Democratic senator has an opportunity to ask all the questions they want. But right now, we debate it almost in a vacuum. Let's hear from her. At the end of the week, people's views may be entirely different. Let her answer these questions. I asked her that question, though, and I said, you're probably going to hear your words quoted back to you on that and a whole lot of other areas, and I expect she will. But there'll be legitimate questions. I wish we could ask more questions. Obviously, you can't ask, how would you vote in this upcoming case? What are you going to recuse yourself from? That you can ask. But, you know, all the justices that were on the Warren Court when Brown versus Board of Education came up probably all said, of course, we would follow stare decisis. But they overturned Plessy versus Ferguson. They did away with segregation. They turned their back on what the court had done. Thank goodness for the country. It was the right thing to do.
Let me just ask Senator Sessions quickly. You said at one point that Republicans might simply boycott these hearings because they weren't getting all of the documents that they needed. Have you got what you need now? Is that still
We've gotten
an
quite
option?
a lot of documents. They came in a little sooner than I expected, frankly. We got them at least a week before the hearing instead of a day or hours. But there were several things we did not get. We asked for emails in which Elena Kagan was mentioned. Senator Leahy joined me in that request, and we did it for the committee. That has not been produced, any of those. Also, they've withheld 1,600 documents on privacy issues.
At this point, you're not ready to boycott, though.
No. I was pressed would that ever happen, and I acknowledge it might, but I've never intended to do that. The problem is the White House of Obama and President Clinton's lawyers are reviewing these documents without any second independent review. They are deciding what we get, and I think that's not good.
They're doing the same review that we had of Justice Roberts by the Reagan Library, and I felt that was fair and honest, and this is fair and honest, and there's a lot more material for her than we've ever had before.
I don't think these are going to be hollow and a charade, that's for sure, for this conversation. Thank you, gentlemen, so much.
Thank you.